We've all been there, staring at 2 full inventories of loot and trying to prioritize with a few precious seconds before the inevitable grub sneaks up on you. But you actually have a second inventory you might not be taking advantage of. And no, I'm not talking about backpacks, but it is like having one. It's your crafting queue, which can hold 80 items in it, and while many of us already craft TCs, small walls, or doors to carry more resources, there's a few extra steps that you can take to make this strategy way better. First thing you need to know is that while you can't access the crafting queue while looting from a container, you can actually trigger crafts with a bind. So if you bind crafting small walls to a key and then start looting a bunch of wood, you can craft those small walls while the wood enters your inventory. This is way faster than looting, leaving the container, entering your crafting queue, and repeating until you have everything. Secondly, and this gets notably crazier, you can bind multiple crafts to a single key. This means you can spam craft a ton of different items and dramatically reduce the inventory space you use. Take a look at this example where with one bind I craft items covering wood, stone, frags, blades, tarp, gears, rope, leather and sewing kits, and propane tanks. That's because you can craft all these items without a workbench, and some even don't require a BP. I've also put 4 small walls up front to give you almost 2 minutes before you craft something you don't need. To reset the timers, you just need to go into your queue and right-click on an item to move it to the front. I do it twice to bring it back to small walls. I've put this bind in the comments if you want to copy and paste it, but you might need to customize it a bit based on what blueprints you have, but all of these items seem to be reasonable options. Be careful though, because the longer the list of items, the more likely you are to get disconnected for packet flooding if you spam the bind too hard. So I've also included a shorter but safer list as well. Remember that you need to use the item ID in the command, and you can find a list of them at rusthelp.com. Now if you combine this with a few more of the following tricks, you'll be way more effective at looting. For starters, and you probably already do this, but make sure you're using hover loot and it's bound to something convenient. I personally put it on a side mouse button. Secondly, backpacks can obviously help you carry a lot more, but you can hover loot directly into them if you open the backpack and hold left alt while hover looting. But take note that you can't craft from a backpack unfortunately. Also remember that each section of a body is a different hover loot queue that moves simultaneously, so always start with the section that has the most items unless you want to gear up first and finish looting later. Put all this together and I promise you'll survive more fights and walk away with more loot. And the last tip, someone will make you better at Rust.